David Pastrnak strikes first and Brad Marchand strikes second and last in overtime to give the Bruins a win over the Flames for the second time this month. NESN's Alex Kramer talked with Marshy after his game winner.
I was just trying to get away from their D-man. I knew I had a lot of speed, so hopefully I just tried to open up, and luckily I win it.
How good was Tuukka Rask in net for you guys tonight?
Yeah, he was phenomenal, especially in the third. In overtime, they had a lot of really good opportunities. He played phenomenal. Got to give Nasher a lot of credit on that last goal. He made a phenomenal defensive play to kill that play and get it up, so great job by those guys.
After Saturday's disappointing loss, was this a satisfactory response for you guys?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good early on. We didn't have the best third, but we got the win on the road. It's good, so hopefully we can build on that.
Well, welcome on in to Bruins Now. I'm Courtney Cox, joined now by NESN.com writer and Bruins analyst Mike Cole. Mike, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So a big win for the Bruins on, what was it now, Monday night?
Yep.
Monday afternoon, actually. Game was at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern time, but they really rebounded after a tough loss on Saturday. What kind of adjustments did you see that they made to get that win on Monday night?
I mean, nothing too complicated, just, kind of tightening up. Saturday night was a weird one, about as bad as I've seen that team play all season. You knew that they were going to come out with a more inspired effort, and they were, as good as we've seen them through 40 minutes, I think, in a long time, even for as well as they played. I think they allowed 12 shots through the first two periods. Really tightened up, made it a lot easier on Tuukka Rask. And then took advantage of the opportunities. Getting Brad Marchand going again, getting David Pastrnak going again. It was as good of an effort as you could expect, all things considered. It's always tough to go out Western Canada trip, so a lot of good to take from that, and certainly a good bounce back. But I don't think there's anything too specific, just kind of getting back to the way they want to play.
Well, Tuukka Rask got taken out of the game on Saturday. That loss, like we said, pretty tough.
Yep.
He played great Monday afternoon, but it was Brandon Carlo that a lot of people were talking about after, who didn't have a good game as well on Saturday, but really stepped up on Monday.
Yeah, I think people forget how young Brandon Carlo still is, and this is the kind of thing when you have young teams that you're going to go through the ebbs and flows of a season. That's also kind of what's made the fact that they haven't lost consecutive regulation games since, I think, mid-November even more impressive. They're doing it with young guys. I think that's it's important to remember from time to time, because you're going to have these kind of funks for young players. You're going to have bad games. And, Carlo had a really bad game on Saturday night. He put his teammates, especially Rask, in bad positions. And you're always looking for that bounce back effort. I think that's an important lesson for young players to learn. And Carlo, as good as anybody else, as well as we've seen all season, kind of bouncing back and finding his game. He was physical. He made right decisions. I know there's one breakaway late in the game that kind of stands out. He made a nice play. I think it was on Johnny Gaudreau. So, a lot smarter, just a simpler, smarter game, and that kind of is the key to success when you're a young defenseman.
Well, you bring up the fact that they are in Canada, tough road stretch for them. They're still on the road for a period of time. Does that Saturday loss make you nervous, or do you think that they'll finish this one out okay?
No, I think it would make me a lot more nervous if they came out and looked bad, especially early on Monday. And the fact that they came out and were so good early on in that game, I think it tells you that this is a team that from the leadership on down is focused. They're not going to let that one game carry over into a bad game. That's what talking about that stretch since mid-November. They have a good ability to kind of put the past behind them, move on to the next game, whether it's good or bad. That's how you sustain success over a long period of time. That's how you avoid losing streaks. So it's a very even-keeled group. It's a team that plays with its head on its shoulders. It's a team that doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And that's a run of cliches, but I think it's important for a young team like this. And so it just was so out of character on Saturday night. I think you have to see that over a longer period of time to get too worried about it. And I think that the bounce back Monday kind of validates that point.
All right, well, great stuff from Mike. As always, you can follow along with him on Twitter at Mike Cole NESN. All right, now let's jump into the standings. The Bruins still in that second spot. They're right behind the Lightning, ahead of the Maple Leafs. They're 4 points behind Tampa Bay and a point above the Maple Leafs, so a close one there between second and third. Now let's talk about what's coming up next for the Bruins. A quick turnaround. They face off with the Oilers Tuesday night. Then they head on to Saturday against those Maple Leafs. Reminder, I said that they are only 1 point ahead of them in the standings. Sunday against the Sabres, and then home on February 27th to take on the Hurricanes. And speaking of February 27th, there's no place like home, and definitely the case for Paul Postma, who the Bruins posted this photo with. We don't really talk about him that much, but put him with his dog and all eyes on him. A cute dog there. Wow. I mean, you really don't get better than that. Our very own Michaela Vernava is definitely having a field day with this one. And for a glance at the social media scene around the rest of the sports world, here's Casey's Social Drive presented by Nissan.
Time now for your Nissan Social Drive, brought to you by your local Nissan dealer. So Rob Gronkowski, listen to this, and his entire family presented the Barbara Bush Hospital at Maine Medical Center with a check for $25,000 this afternoon. The money raised through 2 raffles by Gronk Nation. One was for tickets to the AFC Championship, the other for tickets to the Super Bowl. Not so bad. And hey, do you remember on Sunday when Ray Allen went golfing with George Lopez instead of going to Paul Pierce's jersey retirement? Yeah, me too. Well, 2 days have passed and he must have just now come off the golf course. No phones, you know. Allen finally taking to Instagram to acknowledge Paul Pierce. 311 words in the caption. Some of what he said: over the last few years, I've been berated and had my name smeared. You may not want to hear this, but I will always be a Celtic. Fact. Also saying, despite what you may have heard or read or what is rumored, there is nothing but love. Paul and I are more interested in building bridges than putting up walls. Then finally at the end, saying congratulations. We got there eventually, 300 words later. On a lighter note, you got plans for June 29th? Now you do, babe. The full-length Uncle Drew film starring your guy Kyrie Irving as Uncle D. It'll be released that day, right after he and the Celtics beat Golden State in the finals, right? Anyway, no other current NBA players making an appearance in this one, but some stars you should see include Shaq, Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, Lisa Leslie, and Nate Robinson. That's your Social Drive.
The Nissan Rogue has everything I need to take on today. Intelligent all-wheel drive when I need to follow the story or create my own path. Style, smarts, and storage. In the Nissan Rogue, I'm not just along for the ride, I'm driving. Shop the Rogue at your local Nissan store and choose Nissan.com. Innovation that excites.
And watch me, Casey McDonald, with your Nissan Social Drive nightly on NESN Sports Today.
The trade deadline is coming up February 26th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. There are a lot of names still out there. The Bruins making moves as they get Nick Holden from the New York Rangers in exchange for Rob O'Gara and the 2018 third-round draft pick. If you look at Holden, he's a 30-year-old. He's skated in 55 games with New York in the 2017-18 season. He's got 3 goals and 9 assists for 12 points. His first season with the Rangers back in 2016. Holden skated in 80 games. He established a career high in offensive categories with 11 goals and 23 assists, 34 points with a +13 rating. So we will see what he will do in black and gold. Some serious news in the NHL as Commissioner Gary Bettman responded to racial slurs that were thrown towards Washington Capitals forward Devontae Smith-Pelly while he was serving a penalty for fighting. You can see the statement released there. Bettman was also in support of the Chicago Blackhawks for ejecting the fans who were chanting basketball at Smith-Pelly. No one should ever have to endure such abuse at one of our games. After the game, Coach Barry Trotz said Smith-Pelly was a little upset. Now, he did address media after the incident a few days later. You can see the full screen here of what he said. We're at a time now where we can't brush it under the rug. You've got to start calling people out and making sure people see other people's true colors. That's why I'm trying to get the conversation started and show whoever these people were their true colors. And on to the Olympics. A guy in Boston that most people would recognize, Ray Bork, his son is in the Olympics. He posted this nice tweet. So grateful to be able to experience this journey with you, Chris. We are all so proud. Hashtag Team USA, hashtag Olympics, hashtag hockey. So a nice family picture there. There's also a Bruins draft pick that's on the team that's making a splash throughout the Olympic Games. Ryan Donato, Bruins draft pick, and has 4 total goals in the Olympics so far. He scored 2 goals against Slovakia on Tuesday, and the U.S. will play against the Czech Republic on Wednesday in the quarterfinals. And on to a feel-good story. Let's pull up this video that our guy Fred Nutter found on the Instagram. Some kids just having fun, but look at the skill here. I still don't understand how this is possible. This comes from Daddy_Duffy. Heart, the big bro love here. More dizzying lacrosse twirling from Noah. So as you can see, Noah's got some skills. I think there's some NHL players out there that should be taking note, maybe some lessons from this kid. But that will do it for this episode of Bruins Now. Thanks so much for tuning in, and make sure to keep it locked in. NESN.com. We've got all your coverage, and of course, watch all the games on NESN. I'm Courtney Cox. Thanks for tuning in.